Hello everyone, myself Paresh Patel, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Medicinal Chemistry at LG Institute of Pharmacy. As we all know that due to the current situation because of this COVID-19, we are not able to conduct your lecture at our college campus, and therefore we are going to upload the lectures on our YouTube channel, that is Pharma Ignite. Because we know that the study is required and therefore your study will not be missed. I request all of you to please subscribe our channel Pharma Ignite so that your study will not be missed. Now in today's lecture, I am going to discuss about the oral hypoglycemic agents. First we need to understand that why they are known as the oral hypoglycemic agents. Initially what we have studied in last lecture, that is type 1 diabetes treatment. In type 1 there is a deficiency of insulin, that is the main cause of type 1 diabetes. While in type 2 insulin does not work properly. So most of the time the type 1 treatment include the insulin. And as I told earlier that insulin cannot be given through the oral route as it is degraded rapidly in the GIT tract. In case of type 2 also we are giving sometime insulin, but many number of times the treatment of the type 2 diabetes include the various drugs, and these chemical drugs, as they are given through the oral route, they are known as the oral hypoglycemic agents. Oral route through they are given, and their main action is hypoglycemia, and therefore they are referred as a oral hypoglycemic agents. Now briefly I am giving some classification and then we will go for the detailing. Most commonly used chemical classes of the drugs they are used are the sulfonylurea, glimepiride, tolbutamide, glipizide, biguanidine, that is a metformin, meglitide, that is repaglinide and nataglinide, thiazolidinedione, that is pioglitazone, rosiglitazone, and alpha glucosidase inhibitor, that is acarbose and miglitol. These are the conventional drugs. In recent times, due to the advancement in these anti-diabetic drugs, there are also some newer class like a DPP-4 inhibitors, which is abbreviated as a dipeptidyl peptidase inhibitor like a vidagliptin or saxagliptin or sitagliptin. So they are also the part of these drugs. So we will go one by one in detail, and we will also study how the particular chemical class they produce their action. First we will start with the sulfonylurea. Now sulfonylurea was derived, the major class main drug which was first discovered was the carbutamide, which was derived from the isopropyl thiadiazole, and isopropyl thiadiazole was initially used to treat the certain conditions in the typhoid, but later on many people have been died due to the problem of hypoglycemia. So based on that side effect which was there in the IPTD, the structure was optimized in order to provide the oral hypoglycemic agents. So you can see the modification in the structure. IPTD amino group SO2NH, they are remain to be a common one, but thiadiazole, thia means sulfur and 2 nitrogen diazole, so thiadiazole was being substituted with the other group here with amide linkage. It is a cyclobutane. So you need to remember the structure of carbutamide, that it contains the cyclobutane, so an amide linkage. So carbutamide means cyclobutane and amide linkage is there. If you see the structure activity relationship of sulfonylurea, it contains one aromatic ring, then SO2NH group, that is amide sulfonamide group, and then amide linkage should be attached with the either the cycloalkane or aliphatic chain. So they are the main structural feature. One is aromatic ring, sulfonamide group, and the aliphatic chain or cycloalkane chain that should be attached with the amide linkage. Now how the mechanism of the actions of this sulfonylurea? They increasing the release of the insulin through the pancreatic beta cells, thereby the efflux of the potassium channel, and these potassium channels, they are responsive to the ATP to ADP ratio, and therefore this binding of the sulfonylurea drug to the particular receptors, they produce the closure of the potassium channel. Because of that, the calcium channels for the entry of the calcium plus 2 ions is also going to be increases, and because of this cytosolic calcium plus 2, they produce the exocytosis, and due to that the insulin is going to be released. In short, you can say that the sulfonylurea containing drugs, they induce the entry of the calcium plus 2 ion, and due to that entry of the calcium plus 2 ion, there is a exocytosis. Due to that exocytosis, the insulin is going to be released. So it will ultimately, you can say that they stimulate the release of the insulin. Now second category is the biguanidine. So what is biguanidine derivatives? They reduce the blood glucose level by the depressing the amount of the sugar that is produced by the liver, and that is the main action that is mediated by the biguanidine derivatives, like a very commonly used drug, that is a metformin. The metformin is the very conventional drug, which is even today also it is being used by the many patients who are having the type 2 diabetes. It is given in the combination nowadays with the other drug like a sulfonylurea and the thiazolidinedione derivatives like pioglitazone or other derivatives. It is effective in the treating of the children also when they are suffering from type 2 diabetes. It controls the glucose level for a longer period of time compared with the sulfonylurea if we compare the bioavailability. Another category of the drug, that is meglitinides. What about the meglitinides? The meglitinides is, they work very quickly, but they do not remain for a longer period of time in the body, and therefore we need to take care. They must be taken before the meal. It also allows the flexibility for the people who do not have the regular schedules regarding their meal, and therefore before the meal if it is taken, it is more effective. People who are having the problem, if you see the structure of this ripaglinide, it containing carboxylic acid group, and then ether linkage is also there. So ripaglinide structure somehow it is very long, but amide linkage is again there. Now another category of the drug, that is a thiazolidinediones. Now as you know, okay, how the name is there, thia means sulfur and it containing the azole means nitrogen, and diones means it is ketone. So if you see the structure, diones means two ketone group are there, and it also containing the thiazole means sulfur and azole is always present. So you have to remember this is a riboglitazone. So riboglitazone derivative, riboglitazone is a thiazolidinedione derivatives. How they produce their actions? If you compare with the sulfonylurea and other derivatives, this category of the drug, they are working on the PPAR gamma receptor. Now what is the full form of the PPAR? It is referred as a pyroxasomal proliferative activated receptor, and there are three subtypes, alpha, beta and gamma. Among these three receptor subtype, the thiazolidinediones derivatives, they work on the PPAR gamma receptors, and PPAR gamma receptor antagonist they work, and thereby they are what doing, they are increasing they also work on the adipose tissue, and therefore they are also having the impact on the obesity. How they will work? They produce the reduction in the insulin resistance. So that is a major problem in the type 2 diabetes, as we have also discussed last time. In type 2 diabetes, insulin is produced, but that insulin does not work in the proper manner. So insulin resistance problem can be decreased by taking this PPAR gamma antagonist. And how they do? They increasing the utilization of the glucose. They also increase the lipogenesis. They also increase the fatty acid uptake, and they also mediate the glycolysis and glucose oxidation. Ultimately, they will stimulate or mediate the utilization of the glucose in the blood. Now another category, that is aminocyclitols derivatives, or they are also known as alpha glucosidase. What is the alpha glucosidase? Is the enzyme, and what does it work? The alpha glucosidase inhibitors, that means we are preventing the action of alpha glucosidase by preventing the digestion of the carbohydrate, and carbohydrates are normally converted into the polysaccharides or disaccharides. They are mainly converted into their monosaccharide form of glucose, and that is absorbed through the intestine. Ultimately it will responsible for increasing the blood glucose level. So by inhibiting these enzymes, we can reduce the absorption of the glucose from the intestine, and thereby the level of the glucose will be easily decreases. Acarbose is a glycosidic linkage containing drug, and like a protein, as the amino acids linkage are there with the peptide bond, here glycosidic linkage are there, and such type of monosaccharide units are joined together, and this is a structure of this alpha glucosidase. Even miglitol, which is a very easy structure, but you see many polar groups are there, phenolic group as well as alcohol group is present. How they produce their action? As I told, that they will prevent the absorption of the glucose, and thereby the level of the glucose can be decreases. Even voglibose, which is again a derivative of this miglitol, and they reducing the postprandial blood glucose level who are having the problem of this type 2 diabetes. So in type 2 diabetes, these alpha glucosidase inhibitors, they are being effective. Now when we talk about the newer agents, the another targets which were found, which can be work or which can be in the effective treatment of the type 2 diabetes, incretin, which is an hormone, and that incretin enhancer, incretin hormone is responsible for controlling or reducing the glucose in the blood. And this dipeptide peptidase inhibitors, means DPP4 enzyme inhibitors, they will responsible for incretin enhancer. Now how this incretin is there, that is GLP. First we need to understand what is the role of the GLP, then you will able to know what is the role of DPP4. Incretin hormone, which is produced in the GIT tract, and that stimulate the insulin secretions. There are two main incretin hormones are there in the body, that is a glucagon like peptide one, that is GLP, and another is a GIP, that is known as glucose dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. Glucagon like peptide, as its name indicates, it is a glucagon like, that means it will reduce the glucose level. And another is a glucose dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. Now this GLP, which is made in the small intestine, and then it is also produced in the colon, and then it is released when the food is there, means in response to the food it is being released. It stimulates the insulin secretion, and thereby glucose is going to be decreases. But what is the main problem with the GLP, glucagon like this hormone, that it is the effect in the body, it is being decreases because it is rapidly broken down by the enzyme that is called as a DPP4 enzyme. So DPP4 enzyme is responsible for the breakdown of this glucagon like peptide. So GLP-1 in the body is rapidly broken down by the enzyme called as a DPP4. So what we have to do, if we want to increase the action of the glucagon like polypeptide GLP-1, we need to inhibit the enzyme that is a dipeptidase. So ultimately DPP4 is responsible for the inhibitory actions of the glucagon like polypeptide. So GLP-1 action, as it is inhibited by the DPP4, why we are giving DPP4 inhibitors? Because by inhibiting this DPP4, the broken down of the GLP-1 will be prevented. And if you can able to prevent the breakdown of the GLP-1, that means its action is going to be increases. If GLP-1 action is being increases, what is the role of the GLP? It will responsible for the reducing the glucose in the blood. So that work is like a glucagon only, and therefore DPP4 inhibitors currently used in the market, saxagliptin, sitagliptin, which containing 6 fluorine atoms, 3 on the aromatic ring and 3 on the aliphatic trifluoromethane group. Vildagliptin is again there, Then linagliptin. So these are the various newer drug, alogliptin, and this future target, that is in future we may have also another target like a SGLT2, which work on the transportation of the glucose in the blood. So if you inhibit those transportation of the glucose through this co-transporter, that is a sodium dependent glucose like transporter, and another is a protein tyrosine phosphatase 1b, and another is also that TZR5, which is a G protein coupled receptors, and 11 beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase type 1. So all these new targets we can able to find in the future, and we can able to find certain drugs. Now which type of question is being asked in the exams? As far as the competitive exams are concerned, many a number of times the mechanism, especially with the DPP4, which are new targets, so that you have to remember those mechanism. And then in the university examinations, the question is asked like define and classify oral hypoglycemic agent. So you need to write down the full classification with the mechanism of type 2 diabetes. Even they can also ask like a drug used in the treatment of type 2 diabetes mellitus, that is also the same one. Recent advances in the therapy of type 2 diabetes. So you will write down about the DPP4 inhibitors and the newer target which I have listed in the last slide, that also have to be included. So these all points should be included when the recent advances question is going to be asked.